the Las Vegas Raiders. I went down to Oakland and they weren't there. They open up. I mean, it's just, this AFC West, dude, like some of these stretches of schedules for the AFC West are just brutal, man.
Absurd, yeah.
So you've got at the Chargers versus the Cardinals, who usually start hot with Cliff Kingsbury, at Tennessee versus the Broncos, and at the Chiefs. Like, I think if you're the Raiders, 2-3 is kind of a win.
Yep, that's my prediction is 2-3. I think even a 1-4 could be possible. That's
I think 0-5 is on the table. 0-5 is on the table. 1-4 is totally possible. I'm saying 2-3. You're like, okay, we're sort of survived. Like, I mean, you're about 3 road games against, like would-be playoff teams, and then home games against 2 teams who, seem like pretty good playoff caliber people.
Absolutely. And, getting the Cardinals, I talked about last team, getting the Cardinals late would be ideal, but at the same time, they're not going to have DeAndre Hopkins either. So it's very possible they get off to a slow start. You said 0-5's on the table. I wouldn't go with that. I'd probably go with 1-4, worst case scenario, 2-3. I'd love to be high on the Raiders this year. I would absolutely love it for Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Josh McDaniels, but one of these teams in the AFC West has to finish last in the division, and Vegas clearly thinks it's going to be the Raiders.
Yep. 0-5 is on the table. No, it's not. I don't think it's likely. They'll find it. I forgot to mention who all they added and whatnot. But obviously they added Devontae Adams via trade from Green Bay. They signed Chandler Jones as a free agent. Brought in DeMarcus Robinson. It's like a sneaky little ad. Keelan Cole. Really bolstering that. That wide receiver room. Rocky Ya-Sin they picked up in a trade as well. Jayon Brown, decent little signing. And then they lost Yannick Ngakoue. They lost Casey Hayward, Zay Jones, Brian Edwards, who they just recently traded. And, of course, Marcus Mariota, their backup quarterback who left. So over under, by the way, 8.5. The under -125 after going 10-7 a year ago. If you're really optimistic, you can go 2-3. I think we both think 1-4 maybe is sort of the landing spot there coming out of the gate.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what. Let's be generous and go 2-3.
Okay, thank you. I'm leaning towards that direction too. And I like the Raiders. I want them to be good.
Yeah, I don't want the Raiders to suck. It's just those games are hard.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not favored in 3 of those games for sure, the road games. I bet if Denver comes out blazing that Denver's favored in Las Vegas, or at least a pick 'em, and then they'll be favored against Arizona. But if Arizona beats the Chiefs week 1, who knows? Out of the week 6 bye, and I think week 6 byes are brutal in the first place, especially brutal in a 17-game season. They get the Texans at home, which we think should be a win. At New Orleans and at Jacksonville, I think you're going to have to make a long road trip there. You probably stay over in New Orleans, maybe, and then fly to Jacksonville from there.
Does that happen a lot in the NFL?
I guess it's a 1:00 game Eastern time, so maybe not. I guess with Vegas, you go back to Vegas and then fly back to Jacksonville. Yeah, that's probably right.
Regardless, I'm splitting that, right? I'm going to give the Saints.
They could beat the Saints and lose to the Jaguars. I wouldn't be shocked. Or, lose to the Saints, beat the Jaguars. So we've got 2-3, 3-3, 4-4 through 9 weeks. Colts at home.
I'm going to give that a win to the Raiders.
Okay. I'll acquiesce to that. I think they could lose it. We'll see. I think both teams have lots of question marks about them. So 5-4. I think they lose at Denver. It's 5-5. At Seattle is not a freebie, but we're giving it to basically everybody who plays the Seahawks, it feels like.
Yeah.
You got a win or a loss at Seattle?
Win for the Raiders.
Okay. So that's 6-5. Chargers at home. You going to split them? Did we split them?
I'm going to split them with the Chargers. Yes, the Chargers get the revenge on the Raiders week 1, but the Raiders win in week 13.
Okay. So 7-5, lost at the Rams, I assume.
Yep.
7-6, win or loss against the Patriots. I'm not betting on Josh McDaniels against Belichick. I'll tell you that much.
I'm taking Belichick in that one.
Okay. 7-7, at Pittsburgh. Or so to close out, they're going to need to win two of at Pittsburgh versus San Francisco versus Kansas City. Do they get it done?
So I actually did this for CBS Sports. I wrote an article predicting every single game for the Raiders, and it was very tough. And this is where I landed. They win against or they lose against the Patriots. Those final 3 games you're talking about. I have them beating the Steelers in Pittsburgh, which will be interesting. Who knows who's playing quarterback at that point in the season? Now, what? They only need one more win to hit their over? I don't have that happening. I have them losing to San Francisco as Trey Lance and company continue to jockey for playoff positioning late in the year, and then Week 18 against the Chiefs. As I mentioned, and if what I said, comes to fruition, no one's going to be resting their starters in Week 18 when it comes to the AFC West. The Chiefs are going to need that game. It's going to be in Vegas, but that doesn't matter. The Chiefs come out victorious, and I guess we landed on a final record of 8-9 for the Raiders.
Yeah, I think that's probably about right. I like the under. Bill Barnwell and I did some over-unders on his pod. Mark your bingo card. But he had the Raiders under, and I tend to agree with that. I think
it's tough because they went 10-7 last year, right? And made the playoffs. Like, they overcame so much adversity. You would think with all the offseason, additions that they made, that they could be a team that could return as a wild card. But at the same time, the AFC West has just been adding major pieces, making splash additions all across the board. The Chiefs have already been established as perennial contenders. Unfortunately, it looks like the Raiders, in my opinion, will be finishing last in that very formidable division.
Yeah, it's just a really hard division. And I think that, it sort of goes like, everybody makes these big additions in the offseason. It's like, oh, well, they fixed everything. It's like, it's not that simple. Like, sometimes it takes some cohesion for it to happen. And, you got a new head coach, you got new pieces in place in both, Denver and in Las Vegas, which I think is sort of flying under the radar because they made so many big splashy moves. So we kind of